Well, good afternoon, everybody. How was your meal? Oh, we got an applause from this table. All right. Well, folks, my name is Bill Kelly, and I'm the sixth president here at Christopher Newport University, and I just want to welcome you to our amazing university. If you would, can we give our staff a round of applause for all of their efforts? We like to say Christopher Newport University is the finest restaurant in Newport News. So if there are any restaurateurs in the room from Newport News, my apologies, but we do a pretty good job here. Folks, I just want to take a quick moment and thank you to Dr. Bush, Nathan, for allowing me to just welcome you to our university. I've already gotten the question, you're a private school, right? We are not. We are a public school, and we are the #1 regional public college in the state of Virginia. And we like to think, and I hope you think as well, that we are the finest regional public university in all of the land. We are very committed to what we do here, and thank you for that. And having you folks here today, yesterday and today, just reinforces that we are committed to our core values of scholarship, service, leadership, and on a foundation of honor. And I can't thank you enough for being here. It's an honor for me as a 36-year Coast Guard officer, retired last June. Retired on June 30th and started here July 1st. It was a wonderful evening. My wife and I truly enjoyed it. But to have one of my mentors here, Admiral Loy, the former U.S. Coast Guard Commandant, and Jeff Rutkowski, a colleague of mine, to have a couple Coasties in the house. Any other Coasties in the house? All right, yeah, we got a couple, yep, right, a couple more Coasties in the house. So thank you so much for being here. And all the DOD folks know in the room, when you get a little Coast Guard, you want a little bit more. So you're getting a little bit more today, folks. Thank you very much for being here. Nathan, over to you, sir.
Well, we're grateful to President Kelly for joining us today. As he mentioned, we're also very grateful that Admiral Loy and the distinguished members of our Board of Advisors are here. It's a real delight to be holding the 11th Annual Homeland Security Symposium and Expo here. I want to again thank HII for their generous participation in the conference. We could not do it without you. We would not want to do it without you. And so Rick, thank you for everything that you've done to make this happen. It's also my honor to introduce Jeffrey Rutkowski, the Deputy Assistant Commandant for Intelligence for the U.S. Coast Guard. Mr. Rutkowski assumed the duties as the Coast Guard's Deputy Assistant Commandant in January of 2022. And in this capacity, he provides executive direction, leadership, and management to the U.S. Coast Guard intelligence enterprise, and serves as the Coast Guard's lead for artificial intelligence. Obviously apropos for today's conference, which focuses on artificial intelligence and emerging technologies. Mr. Rutkowski served as the Coast Guard attaché to Russia, the Dominican Republic, Venezuela, that's got to be a tough job, and the Eastern Caribbean, and as the deputy of the J9 Interagency Partnership Directorate, the CG Cryptologic Group, and the National Cryptologic Representative in Afghanistan. So Mr. Rutkowski also served as the director of the Joint Interagency Counter-Trafficking Center at European Command, and was also the Coast Guard's first acting senior defense official and first intelligence and operations liaison officer to DHS's Domestic Nuclear Detection Office. Now, all of that is quite a mouthful, so I'm pleased that I managed to get through all of those titles. But I'm also equally pleased that Mr. Rutkowski has come to join us today. So please give a warm CNU welcome to Jeff Rutkowski.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Before we get started, I know that for most of you in the audience, that was 90% gobbledygook and acronyms of words that don't make a lot of sense, but we'll try to get it more normal terms here. First off, I wanted to thank Admiral President Kelly, still Admiral to us, for the invite, and Dr. Bush as well. I'm going to try to put my drink down. Looks like it might spill. For the invite today, and one of the roles of Coast Guard Intelligence is we brief the Commandant every day. And so I didn't brief the Commandant this morning because I was on my way down here, but now I get to brief the former Commandant as well. So it's like you can't escape them. They're always around. They're always going to get you. Before we start, I wanted to say we're hiring. So if you're motivated and you want to work on the front lines in service to your nation each day, the Coast Guard does, in fact, have a place for you. And we're really eager to bring in new talent. Specifically, we're planning to leverage what's called the Intergovernmental Personnel Act, an IPA, that's my next acronym, which will enable talented people from state and local government, universities, and FFRDs, federally funded research and development centers. Are you a FFRD here or not yet? Not yet. All right. To temporarily work for us. I also wanted to highlight something unprecedented. We work very closely with DHS, and DHS is hiring 50 AI professionals right now to form a new AI core that will be the foundation to guide the department's future AI growth. And as I mentioned, we partner very closely with DHS AI as well. One of our key efforts within the Coast Guard is working with our partners and stakeholders, both within the department and across the interagency. We strive to be a leader within the department and within the federal governments in partnering with others. And we do that every day, whether it's collaborating with our fellow military services and DoD, with our maritime and port partners, supporting $5.4 trillion in annual commerce moved using our marine transportation system, and with the number of industry partners like those of you here today, helping the Coast Guard executing and support our 11 statutory missions each day. Somebody likes it. And of course, with our fellow DHS components that we serve side by side. That concept of partnerships and collaborations is a thread I'll walk throughout the course of this discussion. You'll hear it as I give context the importance of maritime domain awareness, or MDA, and what we're doing to define and deploy capabilities to improve it. Discuss the importance of sharing data and information to contribute to our collective knowledge and awareness and some of our needs, and how we leverage data, AI, and knowledge for mission execution. One more thing before we start, without giving you a full decomposition of our organizational structure, I wanted to let you know that the Coast Guard, we have an office dedicated to the advancement of enterprise-wide data and AI, led by our Chief Data and AI Officer. And as Dr. Bush mentioned, for Coast Guard Intelligence, this was a mandate for every member of the intelligence community by Director Haynes, the head of DNI, to designate a senior AI official for intelligence, and that's one of my roles now, which is also a very valuable tool as we work throughout the intelligence community to see where we can collaborate and leverage each other's ideas and actions. All right. So anybody that's worked in maritime domain awareness, and I know my friend Stan Gold's here, he'll love this. There's more definitions of maritime domain awareness than there are people, though it feels like anyhow. The one that, the Maritime Domain Awareness Plan, the national plan that we use, is the effective understanding of anything associated with the maritime domain that could impact the security, safety, economy, or environment of the United States. So you'll sometimes hear today from seafloor to space, knowing all the areas and all the things, including maritime activities, infrastructure, people, cargo, and vessels. And just thinking about what we're seeing day in and day out, that's from seabed and what's going on the seabed, what economic opportunities are there, what defense things are happening, what infrastructure is there, that sort of comment is more relevant today probably than ever before. And then we just look at what's going on in space and you see the same thing. That is undoubtedly a massive task. So as you see, there are two core principles to get after that is unity of effort and then fostering information sharing and safeguarding. And it really is too big for any one component, agency, service, or department. So we have to collaborate. And you might ask, how are we doing that? We're doing that through an interagency body called the MDA, Maritime Domain Awareness Executive Steering Committee. The Coast Guard is the executive agent for Maritime Domain Awareness, and we're DHS's representative to this MDA Executive Steering Committee. Specifically, we're responsible to lead oversight, strategic direction, and planning within DHS. We lead coordination between DHS components and assist in coordinating with other department executive agents through our participation in the national MDA ESC. So what does that look like in more pragmatic terms? All right. The National MDA Executive Steering Committee chartered an interagency MDA requirements working group. So if those of you, I talked to some of the students before, are looking at possibly coming to DC. If you come to DC, this is the language you have to learn of acronyms. So no quizzes today from me, but there is an acronym for everything we do, and that IMRWG is what we're using, the requirements working group, to build a framework for helping to define MDA. This was chartered in 2020, and we published the results you see here in 2021. The group adopted the premise that MDA exists on a continuum from broad general awareness, surveillance and monitoring, at MDA level of awareness 5 at the top, to a much more detailed, granular understanding of the maritime environment at an understanding at MDA level of awareness 1 at the bottom. In the group's analysis, it became evident that levels of awareness also correlate to a continuum that starts with raw data, shifts to information, and ends with knowledge. It became evident that on the top 2 levels, the focus is on data. At middle levels, processing and analysis converts data to information, and level 1 requires comprehensive knowledge to achieve the desired level of understanding. So how are we getting after gathering more data for better MDA? Which everybody that studies or works in AI will tell you it's about the data. So for us, we've begun executing this persistent wide area maritime surveillance, or PWAMS. This is your acronym for this slide. I will not go a slide without an acronym. If I say an acronym without spelling it out, then let me know, stop me. It used to be that if somebody called it out, you would pass out treats for whoever called out the acronym. Some of them you should know, such as a joint requirement was signed between the Coast Guard, CBP, Customs and Border Protection, HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, and we're drafting a joint requirement among all of us. The task is so big, with over 2.5 million square miles of ocean from our shores to 200 nautical miles offshore, which constitutes our exclusive economic zone. We must seek to complement each other's capabilities. So we're pursuing a layered approach of platforms and sensors with enabling technologies like tactical communications networks, big data solutions, advanced analytic tools such as AI and machine learning to turn that raw data into information. And finally, a way for a human to view the information and develop awareness and knowledge. That human in the loop piece is critical for everything we do. Then we're able to make a better mission decision. So I want to share with you some of the capabilities that we're looking at right now. We're working together, as I mentioned, with CBP, HSI, DOD, and members of the IC to collaboratively develop, deploy, evaluate, and share information from a variety of platforms and sensors. We are conducting a series of deployments and experimentation while eyeing future opportunities. We're flying MQ-9s under Joint Program Office with Customs and Border Protection. We're learning a lot from this participation, and that's helping inform our decisions for future need for our own fixed-wing fleet. We're also working with CBP's tethered aerostats. We value that capability that CBP owns, and we share the MDA data between components using a system called Minotaur. And I'll talk more about Minotaur in a moment. We've conducted 2 separate sail drone deployments in Southern California. You see the one here, and a second deployment in the Caribbean. Our ongoing DHS science and technology collaboration on new sensors includes cameras, radars, and smart buoys to improve MDA. We're also looking very closely at all the MDA capabilities now available commercially. Radar imagery, RF space sensors can all close the gaps in MDA around the world without acquiring and sustaining systems. So with this growing data collection, what's next? One pivotal area where we are applying AI technology is in leveraging computer vision to automatically detect and classify maritime objects. The scope of this application is broad and intricate, covering an array of sources from which we gather our video and imagery data. This includes footage from our cutters patrolling the open seas, aircraft conducting reconnaissance missions, and fixed cameras strategically positioned in ports across the nation. But our reach extends beyond the conventional, tapping into the wealth of commercial satellite imagery and incorporating innovative platforms such as the sail drones mentioned, the tethered aerostats, and unmanned aircraft. The motivation behind this technological integration stems from an undeniable reality. The volume of imagery at our disposal is staggering. Each day, our analysts are inundated with data, a deluge of visual information that far exceeds human capacity to effectively analyze and exploit. The challenge is not just in the volume, but in the critical need to swiftly identify, classify, and respond to potential threats, anomalies, or incidents of interest amidst this vast sea of data. It is here that AI, and specifically computer vision, becomes our indispensable ally. The impact of computer vision on satellite imagery cannot be overstated. Through advanced algorithms and learning models, AI systems are trained to recognize patterns, shapes, and features that signify maritime objects. And for us, that's really important. If it just identified something in the water, for example, if we're looking for a search and rescue case of a person, we want to know that it's a person in the water. If it told us, if everything was anonymized and it was a ship, well, that might not be what we're looking for, and we've wasted a lot of time, money, fuel, and we're still haven't found that person. Similarly, we want, so that ontology of AI is incredibly critical for a lot of this maritime object detection. We have so many different things. If you think of a go-fast carrying drugs, if you think of a Haitian sail vessel that is a safety of life at sea, trying to rescue those people, we need that AI, the computer vision, to get the ontology right, so we know that we're looking for and finding what we're actually trying to get after. So that's what matters about those patterns, shapes, and features. And as I mentioned, they could be vessels in illicit activities. It also could be endangered marine life. It could be environmental hazards or any indications of illegal fishing operations. By automating the detection and the classification process, we significantly reduce response times, improve the accuracy of our intelligence, and enhance the safety and security of our maritime domain. I'll now provide two specific examples of how we're doing this for MDA. The Coast Guard is experimenting with integrating advanced computer vision algorithms into our aircraft. As I mentioned, this is the technology combined with Minotaur and our mission system that enhances our ability to detect and respond to threats at sea. The system produces real-time camera feeds, allowing quick and accurate decision-making. I want to highlight that this is a great example of how we leverage partnerships in the effort. The specific integration is only made possible through the support of multiple federal agencies and across the IC and with DoD. The second example of AI is XView 3. XView 3 was a sophisticated computer vision and machine learning competition aimed at enhancing the detection and classification of maritime vessels to combat illegal, unreported, and unregulated IUU, there's your acronym for this slide, fishing worldwide, sponsored by the Defense Innovation Unit, Global Fishing Watch, a non-governmental organization, and the Coast Guard. And that really gets at the diversity of the partners that we need to have in order to go after this problem. The challenge utilized satellite radar imagery to identify and monitor maritime activities, again, focusing on IUU fishing. The competition prompted participants to develop algorithms capable of accurately identifying and classifying various types of vessels and fishing activities from satellite images. These algorithms were tasked with processing large data sets to detect IUU fishing activities across extensive ocean expanses, areas traditionally challenging to monitor. Upon the conclusion of the XView 3 competition, the winning model emerged as a powerful tool for maritime surveillance and enforcement. The Coast Guard continues to use the output of this model and makes it available to international partners who are critical in the AI effort as well through a Sea Vision platform, which is run by the U.S. Navy. Okay. So to truly collaborate with all of this data, we've got to share it. And one good example of that for us is Minotaur. Minotaur is a government off-the-shelf GOTS software system developed with the help of Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Lab. Minotaur is an ISR sensor control, data fusion, and visualization tool, which also enables data sharing through the hub-to-hub architecture you see here. Here's how it works, the hub and spoke model. So I don't know if you can read that, but the one on the left is really CBP's hub. Those are CBP assets, and on the right is the Coast Guard hub. So each aviation and surface asset is a spoke where its sensors, the radar, the electro-optical, the infrared, or the AIS, automatically correlates sensors to single vessel tracks and sends that track data back to an agency hub. Agency hubs exchange data constantly with other hubs, and you see that represented by the green arrow. Each hub feeds that back to the spokes, and there's some geographic filtering as well. This allows surveillance detection and some identification of vessels and activity in the maritime domain and data sharing. It's a proven model for information sharing that we believe we can grow. The Coast Guard and other agencies have recently chartered a Minotaur Family of Services Enterprise Governance Board, which will collaborate on future development of that government off-the-shelf Minotaur software code. We will seek improvements and efficiencies that benefit all parties while ensuring individual agencies can develop unique needs and integrate unique platforms. We are rapidly moving towards a future interagency network architecture for Minotaur that shares data between all stakeholders. This embraces those principles of the national MDA plan I spoke about at the beginning, and it's a technology pathway to enable the PWAMS, Persistent Wide Area Maritime Surveillance plan that I spoke also about at the onset, and you didn't think that you were going to come back to either one of those acronyms, but we did. So while this allows us to share the data, we also need to broaden the access to this vessel traffic data that we have within the Coast Guard. All right. So using Minotaur to share data between services and components, we're also looking to expand access and visibility. The data is no good if it's only used by a very small or finite amount of users. So the Coast Guard's recently upgraded its technology stack and is employing a GIS suite, which will allow us to peer into Minotaur and view it on any Coast Guard workstation across the country. It will also allow us to merge this data and with additional feature layers of weather, sea state, and other external data feeds that help us make a decision if we can even access or get to whatever that vessel in distress or potential smuggling vessel or IUU fishing vessel is. And with the planned modernization of the core Minotaur software code, we can maintain short-term storage in on-premises data centers with high degrees of resilience and reliability. We also plan for a longer-term storage that will allow us to run analytics on a large historical data sets for better understanding patterns of life. And patterns of life is really critical for a lot of the success we have. Half of our battle sometimes can be if we know the adversary's pattern of life, we can put ourselves in the right place that we've got a good chance. So we've initiated our own effort to better leverage data as a catalyst for better mission execution. We call it Minerva. Why Minerva? Minerva is the Roman goddess of wisdom, justice, law, and strategy. And some of you may know she's actually pictured in the middle of the Medal of Honor. So this is an effort we're undertaking to better integrate capabilities such as sensors and the platforms that carry them, the tactical communications and data networks, big data platforms to help us organize, store, and manage the data, new advanced tools like AI and machine learning to reduce the analytic burden on our workforce and speed the comprehension, and finally, find better ways to visualize the data that is tailored for human comprehension and decision making. I don't know if you can see the outer ring, but this gets into the cycle of sense, making sense, and acting that iterates. And we know we'll get this right when we've hit all of those 7 rights: the right information, the right user, right classification, right time, right route, right reason, on the right device. And obviously there's a lot going on there, so we don't kid ourselves that it's simple. But we do know we're on the cusp of some significant opportunity in the Coast Guard and with our partners. Our commandant says frequently, tomorrow looks different than today, and so will we. And really, in the AI and data analytics area, that couldn't be more true. So I want to thank each of you for letting me speak with you today and share some of our case for partnering on efforts to improve our data, AI collection and sharing. I'm happy to speak with anybody offline afterwards or glad to take any questions at this time. Any questions? Okay, go ahead.
Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts. I have to say, at Christopher Newport University, we offer a number of foreign languages. I have to say, you did an outstanding job translating from acronym speak to human language. So to English, in fact. So we appreciate that, and it's exciting to see all the things that the Coast Guard is working on in the context of artificial intelligence and data collection and also data analysis. You mentioned a little bit how the Coast Guard is working with other DHS entities, Customs and Border Protection, ICE, et cetera. But of course, there's another very significant maritime component, right, for the United States, and that's how the Coast Guard works with the Navy and other Department of Defense entities. One of your slides did have an arrow pointing in the direction of DoD, but I'm wondering if you could elaborate
Sure.
on how you coordinate intelligence either through Minotaur or other ways that the Coast Guard works with.
Right, and obviously we're in an open forum here, so I'll be judicious on what I say. But I can say this, we're very close with the Navy. Navy actually has the Minotaur as a program of record. So they've been doing this longer than we have, and a lot of where they're going with how they're moving the data, they've integrated us into that. So we're sort of lashed up. Everything that they're doing with Minotaur, they want us to be a part of. So when I showed those 3 hubs, it's exactly that. Everything that we might be able to collect should be going to the Navy and vice versa through that Minotaur hub. And there's very few meetings that I'm at about any of this that we're not sitting with a Navy partner on it. Many of you are probably familiar with what's called the Tri-Service Maritime Strategy that encompasses Coast Guard, Navy, and Marines. And that's something that isn't just a nice strategy on words. Like everything we do, we're looking at, okay, can we extend our reach by using that Tri-Service Maritime Strategy? Can we make each of us better by using that? So very closely lashed up with them. Yeah.
Thanks very much for your talk. Just curious if this system is able to help in the Red Sea right now, and in a real world situation, is it having an impact?
Yeah, without getting too much, I know the Navy is using it there now. It's probably all I want to say at this point. But yeah, so I know they're using a lot of AI there. And we have Coast Guard cutters as well in the Red Sea that are benefiting from that as well. Sorry, in the Gulf, in the Arabian Gulf that are benefiting from that as well.
The follow-up would be, in your information sharing, are you going to share that information with the commercial ships?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, wherever we can. Obviously, there's a classification limit. Most of this, frankly, that I showed you was referencing an unclassified sharing of data. So wherever we can, absolutely, and we do that regularly.
Good afternoon. Nick Rocha from Neptune Shield. One of the questions I have is, how can industry and the local community help support y'all's triad and helping you to achieve your goals?
I think they already are. I mean, frankly, everything I said today was probably it's running on either the architecture of backbone or frankly, intellectual property knowledge of industry. So I think it's already there. So I would say, how does it do it even more? I think it's, everything we learn about AI is the speed and scale. So how do we do that in speed and scale, and how do we make it more encompassing on those dark targets? For the Coast Guard, it's always about those dark targets, and we see a lot of that. That's what that XView 3 really was, that competition. So I would say when industry is showing us how to get at those dark targets, and also sort of how to get our arms around the massive structures that we have now, because one analyst trying to process all that isn't doing it. And I think I said it, but I'll underscore it now. We're still pretty nascent as a service in application of it. So I think helping us see that. I sat next to Dominic at lunch, and I felt like I was getting my tutorial on AI as I was eating my lunch. He was eating my lunch. So, yeah. Any other questions or? All right. Well, thank you again for the time. Oh, yes, sir.
Hi, so this might be a simple question because I'm just a student, but I was kind of curious, what do you think the role is of human analysts and human targeters kind of integrated with those systems when they're more sophisticated?
Yeah, I think they're essential. The whole, we could do nothing. I won't do that to you, but talk about like sort of the ethics piece of that. And Dominic and I were talking a little bit about the presidential order, or the POTUS executive order that came out at the end of last year for AI, and that really got into a lot of that human in the loop. So at the end of the day, there's always got to be a human in the loop before any metaphorical or actual trigger is pulled. So it's critical to have that. And I don't see, from a government standpoint, anybody building something that doesn't have that human in the loop, and has to put the human in the loop in a way that they understand what processing went on before. Because if not, then what value are they adding? So yeah, that's just fundamental to how we're going to do everything. Now, that's not a simple question, though. I mean, I said, you can say that, but then how do you do it? Gets to the people that really know how to build the systems and use the data. All right. Well, thank you again for your time.